I'm Chris Wallace in for Brett Baer, and this is a Fox News alert. Less than a year after President Obama celebrated the release of Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl, he is now facing charges of desertion after he abandoned his post and was held by the Taliban for 5 years. Tonight we have Fox team coverage. Catherine Herridge looks at the Taliban 5 who were traded for Bergdahl. But first, national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin is at the Pentagon with the latest. Good evening, Jennifer.
Good evening, Chris. The Army says that according to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl could face a maximum punishment of life behind bars, but not the death penalty. But first, there will be an Article 32 preliminary hearing, like a grand jury, for the following charges.
Sergeant Bergdahl is charged under the Uniform Code of Military Justice with 1 count of Article 85, desertion with intent to shirk important or hazardous duty, and 1 count of Article 99, misbehavior before the enemy by endangering the safety of a command, unit, or place.
Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl left his base in Afghanistan in the summer of 2009 and was held captive by the Taliban, sometimes in a metal box, for 5 years. Bergdahl was released as part of a controversial exchange for 5 top Taliban leaders at Guantanamo Bay last summer. A Rose Garden announcement by the president alongside Bergdahl's parents and statements by the White House about Bergdahl's heroism raised eyebrows.
This morning, I called Bob and Janny Bergdahl and told them that after nearly 5 years in captivity, their son Bo is coming home.
The point is that he's back. He's going to be safely reunited with his family. He served the United States with honor and distinction.
Soon after his release, a chorus of criticism erupted from soldiers in Bergdahl's unit, who spent much of their tour looking for Bergdahl, blaming the loss of some members of their unit to those search efforts. The appearance of Bergdahl's father, who began speaking Pashto, the language of the Taliban, also elicited criticism.
I'd like to say to Bo right now, who's having trouble speaking English, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Zayabayem. I'm your father, Bo.
Initially, after he left, we knew that he had deserted. We knew that he was trying to find the Taliban, or trying to find someone who could speak English so he could talk to the Taliban. I mean, that was known to us at the time when we were on the ground right after he left.
The case still must wind its way through a military court. A judge can still order a court-martial hearing or dismiss the charges altogether. There are still a range of outcomes possible. Bergdahl's lawyer has told reporters he has not decided how his client will plead. A U.S. Army spokesman says there will be no pretrial confinement for Bergdahl. Chris?
Jennifer Griffin reporting for the Pentagon. Jennifer, thanks for that. Now to an update about the men who were traded for Bergdahl, the so-called Taliban 5. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge is here with that part of the story. Good evening, Catherine.
Well, thank you, Chris. A government official who's familiar with the intelligence says that 3 of the 5 Taliban commanders have tried to plug back into their old terror networks, describing it as re-engagement. A defense official emphasized that one of the men has come very close to providing advice, counsel, or inspiration, while the other 2 Taliban commanders have not crossed that line. With the men under house arrest in the Gulf nation of Qatar and a deal that's set to expire in May, a member of the House Intelligence Committee says their intentions are plain to see.
I've seen nothing that causes me to believe that these folks have reformed or changed their ways or intend to reintegrate into society in ways to give me any confidence that they will not return to trying to do harm to America.
A State Department official disagrees, saying the Taliban's 5's activities did not meet the strict criteria for re-engagement laid out by the U.S. intelligence community, which takes into account the motivation and intention of each communication.
Obviously, going back on the battlefield, there are a range of criteria we look at. Because we have means of tracking and staying in close with the government of Qatar, it shows that the process is certainly working.
Fox News is also told there were other options under discussion to get Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl back beyond the controversial swap for the Taliban 5, including a so-called snatch and grab rescue mission, paying a contractor to locate and recover Bergdahl, as well as working through the Pakistani intelligence service. After his release, Bergdahl was debriefed, and a military intelligence source says he provided information about his route out of Afghanistan to Pakistan and his captors, but the intelligence was too dated to be useful. Chris?
More on all this with the panel. Catherine, thank you.
You're welcome.
The mystery of what brought down that airliner yesterday, killing 150 people, only deepens. The Germanwings plane descended sharply and crashed into a mountain. But why? Senior Affairs correspondent Greg Palkot has the latest on the investigation. Greg.
Chris, the word we're getting tonight is that the first remains of the victims of the Germanwings crash are being recovered from that mountainside site. This, however, is just the beginning.
The search is on for victims and answers in the crash yesterday of Germanwings Flight 9525 in the French Alps. For a second day, recovery teams combed through the debris of the shattered Airbus plane, as well as the remains of the 150 victims. French officials say they're getting useful information from the first black box found, the cockpit voice recorder. And while it's claimed the casing of the second black box was also found, the recorder was said to be missing.
We just succeeded in getting an audio file which contains usable sounds and voices.
This as new details emerge about the plane's last minutes. After leaving Barcelona for Dusseldorf, it reached a cruising altitude of nearly 37,000 feet at 10:30 a.m. local time. Then the rapid descent began, the plane dropping some 3,500 feet a minute before it lost radar contact and crashed 10 minutes later. All the while, no mayday call from the pilots. As families of the victims grieved, their nationalities and the identities emerged. In addition to Germany and Spain, those killed came from over a dozen countries around the world, including the U.S. Young Emily Selka from Nokesville, Virginia, was one of the Americans killed, along with her mother, Yvonne, who worked with the Pentagon for defense contractor Booz Allen. There was a third American victim, not yet identified.
We are in contact with family members, and we extend our deepest condolences to the families and loved ones of the 150 people on board.
The leaders of the three main countries involved, French President Hollande, German Chancellor Merkel, and Spanish Prime Minister Rajoy, visited the crash site. Officials say it will take days to recover all the bodies, weeks to identify them.
It is truly a tragedy, and that is what our visit here has shown us quite plainly.
Officials tonight are saying they are pretty sure the crash was not caused by a mid-air explosion, and they don't think it was caused by a depressurization of the cabin where the pilots were. But they also admitted they don't have an explanation yet. Chris.
Greg Palkot reporting from London. Greg, thank you. 3 weeks after news broke that she used a private email server, Hillary Clinton is trying to turn the page, even joking about it. But now Clinton faces a new controversy, and it hits close to home. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry is at the White House with more.
Fresh trouble for Hillary Clinton and new questions about what her thousands of deleted emails might show. After the Inspector General at the Department of Homeland Security found her brother, Tony Rodham, got special treatment in securing visas for foreigners in connection with a business deal, thanks to the intervention of Alejandro Mayorkas, the #2 official at Homeland Security, who still has the White House's full support.
We certainly value the kind of contribution that he has made to the effective management of that department, and he has played an important role in implementing needed reforms in that department.
Despite that endorsement, the blistering independent report found Mayorkas created an appearance of favoritism and special access in his handling of visas for several well-connected Democrats, like Virginia Governor and Clinton intimate Terry McAuliffe. Tony Rodham ran a company involved in raising money for McAuliffe's venture building electric cars. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley declaring, quote, digging into the report and reading about specific cases, you can see just how questionable Mr. Mayorkas' ethics and judgment were. And just as bad is the blind eye that the Obama administration turned when elevating this individual to the #2 slot at the Department of Homeland Security. Administration officials stressed the report noted Mayorkas did not break any rule or law.
He basically gave special visas and access to politically connected Democrats. How could you say he's reforming?
Right. Well, to be clear, Ed, the Inspector General, who, as you point out, did take a close independent look at this, did not suggest that these individuals weren't deserving of a visa. What he suggested is merely that the process didn't work very well.
In his defense, Mayorkas said in a statement, quote, while I disagree with the Inspector General's report, I will certainly learn from it and from this process. For Tony Rodham, meanwhile, the Washington Post has already raised questions about his getting involved with a gold mine in Haiti after meeting a mining executive at a Clinton Global Initiative event.
And what I would say going forward to Hillary is tell your brother
to bug out and to find other ways to make a living other than appearing to trade off your name. It's not a political problem for Hillary. It is an appearance problem.
Now, Tony Rodham has not commented on the Inspector General report. Aides to McAuliffe say the governor was only pushing the Department of Homeland Security to deal with the visa requests in a timely manner. Chris?
More on this with the panel, too. Ed Henry from the White House, thank you. Up next, the situation in Yemen, already on the brink of civil war, gets even worse. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. KTVU in San Francisco has the strange story of a possibly kidnapped woman found safe at a relative's home in Southern California. Denise Huskin's boyfriend called police Monday saying she was forcibly taken and the intruders demanded ransom. Police say the boyfriend is not a person of interest. Fox 43 in York, Pennsylvania is covering two eaglets born to liberty and freedom. The eagle parents got national attention for dutifully sitting on the eggs during a big snowstorm. And this is a live look at Las Vegas from KVVU. The big story there tonight, a Consumer Product Safety Commission investigation of lumber liquidators, flooring. A national TV broadcast raised safety concerns over formaldehyde levels in the company's Chinese-made laminate flooring. Officials say it's too early to tell if the flooring will be recalled. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from the special report. We'll be right back.